In this video, we will see how we can fetch data in our application. So for that, I'm using this free website called JSON placeholder. You can use this as well. So this has some data like for users, posts, etc. You can use this to fetch data to your app for just testing purposes. Once we are done with that, we will move on to the actual full stack. So let me go to the blog page.js and write a function called getData, and this will be async, and what this does is this will fetch data from the API that we saw earlier. So I'm gonna paste it. Make sure you add /posts at the end to get all the posts in your application, and ideally you should not be getting any course errors along with this. So if the response is not okay, we will throw an error. So let's write throw new error, and we'll say something went wrong, and in the else we will return res.json, which will give us the data in JSON format. And inside the blog, let's do const posts is equal to await get data. Make sure you use the await keyword, otherwise you will not get the data. And just loop through the posts. So this is pretty much ES6 syntax, very straightforward. If you don't know, you can just Google how to loop through an array of objects in ES6, okay, using the arrow function. And make sure you give key is equal to post.id, and we will supply the prop to the card component. We'll say post is equal to post, and in the card component we will say the props is post. Let's see. You can see that it is being printed in the terminal, because I had console logged that just to test out. And in the card component, make sure you replace the title with post.title and description with post.body. And as you can see, we are getting dynamic data. Later we will lazy load all these cards, but for now our purpose is to fetch data from an external API, an external data source, if you can call that. So we can also specify cache and give it a value of no cache, or no store, no store. So what this does is this will not cache. As you can see, this will fetch the data every time from the server and not cache the response. This is useful for applications that change data all the time, where you need the latest data, right? But this will take a hit on the performance, and what you can do is you can give it as revalidate 3600. So what this does is this will fetch the data every 3600 seconds, and you will have fresh data every hour, and which Next.js handles it automatically for us. And here in card.jsx, we need to go into the card details. So for going into the card details, let us replace this with a dynamic link. So we'll inside backticks we'll give /blog $, and inside that we'll give post.id, because we want to fetch the single post in the details page. Pretty straightforward stuff. And let's test this out. Let's go to read more, and we can see that the ID is there in the URL. We can use params to fetch that ID. So let's do that in the single post page of our blog. So inside slug we have page.js, and let's copy paste that method, and here we will see how we can fetch a single post from our backend. So as I mentioned earlier, it is very easy to fetch that. What we will do is we will use params and fetch params directly from the URL and supply that param to our getData function. So let's write const post is equal to await get data of slug. Actually there's, I think, an easier way. Let's see. Let's first replace the description with post.body and title with post.title. And here, okay, here we can see that we can get a post by supplying the ID in /users. So here in components, let's create a component called blog user, and we will write it blog user.jsx. So what essentially we'll be doing is we will replace this username and user icon with this component in the code. So let's copy paste that from the single blog post, and we can see that the author and author name is here. Let's replace this with styles.container, and here we will say styles.title and styles dot, let's see, username, and let's import the styles from blog user.module.css. We can just copy paste the styles from the other component. Where is that? Okay, here let's just paste it and replace this with what we are given, title and username. So here we have title, here we'll have username, and the above one will be container. And let's just delete this. Let's delete this part and replace it with the component. So it will be blog user, and user will be post.user ID, I think. Post.id, yeah, that's correct. In blog user, we'll give the param or props as user ID and make it async. So the same thing, to fetch data, let's just copy this method and paste it above. We need to replace the URL. Okay, so this will be /users/user ID, and user ID we will get from the input prop. So const user ID equals user ID, or we can directly give user ID is what I'm thinking. Const user, wait, get data, get user data. We are doing the same thing, right? Let's remove the first line and give it directly. Yeah, I think this is good. So here this will go and fetch what we want, that is the user name. So here this will be user.username, and as you can see this is working fine. Yep, we are able to fetch posts and we are able to populate the data, and that is all for this video. We learned how we will fetch data and populated the blog page and blog details page, and the next video we will see how we can implement this using the full stack. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.